So when Jesus came, God never intended for him to be put under a basket or under a bed, hidden away for only those of us who know he's there to know he's there. God the Father fully intended to put Jesus on a lampstand, lifted up and put on display for all to see. His glory was concealed for a time, only so that it would be revealed at the proper time. So Jesus would go on to say in John chapter 12, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be cast out. As for me, if I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself." That's the judgment. We often think about judgment as the hell that awaits us if we continue to cling to our sin. And I think that's true. But Jesus also spoke of the cross as the judgment of the world, and as the judgment of the ruler of this world, talking about Satan. And furthermore, Jesus said this in John chapter 3, "This is the judgment. The light has come into the world, and people love darkness rather than the light because their deeds were evil." You see, the only reason that there's still darkness is that we tend to prefer the darkness. Which is to say, the only reason there's still sin in the world is because we still cling to our sin. But the darkness cannot overcome the light. In the end, the light of God's glory will always shine on everything. The darkness will be done away with. That is God's judgment. I want to read to you a somewhat long passage of what William Barclay wrote about this verse, because I think it's exactly what the Bible says about God's judgment. William Barclay wrote this: "John has just said that it was because God so loved the world that he sent his Son into the world. Later, he will go on to show us Jesus saying, 'For judgment I came into this world.' How can both things be true? It is quite possible to offer a man an experience in nothing but love, but for that experience to turn out a judgment. It is quite possible to offer a man an experience which is meant to do nothing but bring joy and bliss, and yet for that experience to turn out a judgment. Suppose we love great music and get nearer to God in the midst of the surge and the thunder of a great symphony than anywhere else. Suppose we have a friend who does not know anything about such music, and we wish to introduce him to this great experience, to share it with him, to give him this contact with the invisible beauty which we ourselves enjoy. We have no aim other than to give our friend the happiness of a great new experience. We take him to a symphony concert, and in a very short time he is fidgeting and gazing around the hall, extremely bored. That friend has passed judgment on himself, that he has no music in his soul. The experience designed to bring him new happiness has become only a judgment. This always happens when we confront a man with greatness. We may take him to see some great masterpiece of art. We may take him to listen to a prince of preachers. We may give him a great book to read. We may take him to gaze upon some beauty. His reaction is a judgment. If he finds no beauty and no thrill, we know that he has a blind spot in his soul. A visitor was being shown around an art gallery by one of the attendants. In that gallery, there was certain masterpieces beyond all price, possessions of eternal beauty and unquestioned genius. At the end of the tour, the visitor said, "Well, I don't think much of your old pictures." The attendant answered quietly, "Sir, I would remind you that these pictures are no longer on trial, but those who look at them are." Now, some of you may be thinking right now, that was kind of a long, boring quote, Pastor Chris. I can't believe you read that whole thing and made us sit through it all. But that's exactly what William Barclay was talking about. See, I found what he wrote to be so incredibly true and uplifting, and I wanted to share it with you so that you could be uplifted by it as well. But no matter how much I want you to do that, I can't make you appreciate it. And in the same way, Jesus is the light of the world. And his light shines in our darkness. but many still prefer to hide in the darkness. But our darkness cannot overcome him. Even though our sin is great, his grace is far greater. And since Jesus was lifted up on the cross, he's drawing all people to himself, including you. So don't cling to your sin, hiding in the darkness. Step out into the light, trusting in Jesus, and find forgiveness and grace in him.